Going on, Colts Nation? I appreciate you joining me for this Sunday stroll. Been a little while since we did one of these videos, just kind of talking about some of the little things that had happened throughout the week, some of the stuff we missed or didn't cover throughout the week. And obviously just checking in on you guys, right? I appreciate you guys stopping by all the time. Love you guys so much for coming by, spending your time with me. So of course, let me know down in the comment section. How are you doing? How are things going for you? You let me know down in the comment section. But what I want to start with here, some of this schedule stuff and looking at it, and I started thinking, man, we have quite the gauntlet of quarterbacks coming up this season, right? You think about who we have to play. Obviously, with Texans, we start the year with the Texans, have to play C.J. Stroud 2 times, have to play Trevor Lawrence 2 times. And say what you want about Trevor Lawrence, I think he's a pretty good quarterback. Not as good in the NFL as I thought he'd be, to be completely honest, but still a good NFL quarterback. And then you go just a couple weeks ahead, right? The next few weeks after that, you end up with Jordan Love. You have Caleb Williams, which, by the way, this is the 5th straight year that the Colts are going to be playing the #1 overall pick. And the only time the Colts have lost one of those matchups was the games in Jacksonville. 2021, Trevor Lawrence, we lose in Jacksonville. 2022, they ended up drafting Trayvon Walker #1 overall, and we end up losing in Jacksonville again. Outside of that, we've beaten everybody else, right? Joe Burrow. We beat Trevor Lawrence in Indy. We beat Trayvon Walker in Indy. We beat Bryce Young in Carolina. So this year we play the Bears. We play Caleb Williams, another #1 overall pick. Hopefully that's going to be another dub, but this is definitely the best team that any of these #1s have had over the last 2 years, okay? But then you have Russell Wilson in that category, right? Is Russell Wilson going to turn the clock back, turn into who he was? Steelers are a pretty good team. We'll see what happens there. Okay, you have Tua, week 7. You have the Dolphins. So Tua, another really good quarterback, a really good team. That's a track team over there. That one scares me a bit. We already talked about that in the schedule release, but that's a game that worries me a bit, playing Tua there. Then you have week 10, go skip ahead a couple weeks. Week 10, Josh Allen. The very next week, Aaron Rodgers. And by the way, Aaron Rodgers is 3-1 against the Colts. The only win coming against Peyton Manning, 34-14 Packers win. After that, it was 2012 against Andrew Luck, 30-27 Colts win. That was the Chuck Strong game. 2016, Andrew Luck again. The Colts won 31-26. And then 2020, Phillip Rivers, the season of Phillip Rivers, we win 34-31. So even with Aaron Rodgers' greatness and how the Colts, have been kind of up and down over the past few years, still able to beat Aaron Rodgers. So hopefully we're able to get that done in MetLife Stadium on Sunday Night Football. Then the very next week, turn around, have Jared Goff and the Lions. So up to that point, right? That's just through week 12. And all those quarterbacks we talked about, like that's a gauntlet of quarterbacks through those first 12 weeks. We play a harder schedule than, like, people are talking about, oh, the Colts have one of the easier schedules. Well, go look at the records from last year. Yeah, that might be true. You look at the quarterbacks we're facing, look at the teams and how these teams have changed. The teams that the Colts have to play, like, this is going to be a difficult schedule. Now, the back end of it could be a little easier, right? After the Lions, you have the New England Patriots, and they have a rookie quarterback, Drake May. Then you get the bye week. Denver Broncos have Bo Nix. I think Bo Nix is going to be a good quarterback in the NFL. So by week 15, hey, maybe he's found it. Maybe he's got it, right? I think him and Justin Herbert are a lot alike. He could be a difficult quarterback to face there in week 15, but presumably should be, a good matchup for the Colts. Week 16 is the Titans, where you have Will Levis. Week 17 is Daniel Jones and the New York Giants. And then we finish the year with Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars. So again, could be if Will Levis is good, if Bo Nix is good, if Drake May is good, if Daniel Jones, can get back to the Daniel Jones of the one good season we had of Daniel Jones, and then Trevor Lawrence is Trevor Lawrence. Like, this could be a really difficult schedule for the Colts. We play a lot of really good quarterbacks. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I just thought it was interesting as I started looking through it, man. It was like, wow, we play so many really good quarterbacks this season. So we'll see what happens there as we continue to look at the schedule, like looking at different things. And thanks to JJ Stankovic, who does, and I might have just said that wrong, I'm sorry. But I know he does writing for the Colts and on the Colts website, does a lot of stuff for them, puts out a lot of good stuff. And he had 10 interesting things to know about the Colts schedule, right? And of course, we're finishing with the Jaguars. I think it's been a decade now that he was talking about that it goes, or I'm sorry, it's been the sixth consecutive season where we end the season playing either the Texans or the Jaguars, but the front of the schedule is loaded with AFC South games once again. It was the same way last year. I believe it was the same way the year before, right? We already talked about the number one overall picks that we played, playing all the different rookie quarterbacks. We already talked about, Bo Nix, Drake May, Caleb Williams, JJ McCarthy is also included in that. We play the Vikings this year. So a lot of these young guys that are going to be playing the Colts, a lot of guys we don't have tape on. So we'll see there. Good note about the Bears is that the Colts, their first game as an NFL franchise was against the Bears, and the Colts won that game. And then obviously the Colts winning Super Bowl 41 against the Bears, being able to get that Lombardi Trophy. So two of the most important games in Colts history against the Bears. We play them again this season. That should be a good one. That's a good team around Caleb Williams. So that could be a really good game there. Then continuing on here, just some of this. Obviously, we have the two games in MetLife. Rodgers against Indy, we already talked about. A little interesting nugget here. Something. This is a deep dive kind of thing, but scoregami. If you don't know what a scoregami is, it's a score that happens in the NFL that has never happened before. And the Colts had one of those. It was 37-5 the last time the Bills were in Indy. 37-5 victory for the Colts. Andrew Luck ends up getting a safety in that game, so the Bills got 2 points there. You also have where Adam Vinatieri missed two different point after attempts, so could have ended up not being scoregami, but does end up being a scoregami the last time the Colts hosted them again. 37-5 last time the Bills were in Indy. And that was in 2018, so they didn't have Josh Allen yet, but hopefully we do have some success again against the Bills this upcoming season. Now, the last one here that we'll talk about of all these is what's labeled Detroit barn burners. The Colts and Lions lighting up the scoreboard as they've been playing, right? Going back to 2000, there have been 6 games between the Colts and the Lions, and at least one team has put up 30 points in each game, right? You go back to 2000, it goes every 4 years. So I'm not going to keep saying the years. Just starts in 2000, 30-18 Colts, 41-9 Colts, 31-21 Colts, 35-33 Colts, 39-35 Lions in 2016. And then the last time we played them, which was the Nyheim Hines game, the Phillip Rivers season, 41-21 Colts. So a lot of points being scored in those games. I expect the same thing to happen this year. Whenever the over-under comes out for that game, you should probably take the over for the Colts Lions. So, some good little tidbits there. Some good stuff to talk about. And I just thought it was interesting. Again, time's gone on. There's been more stuff coming out, more stuff that you realize about everything that's going on with the schedule. So much to look forward to. But then, of course, one of those things to look forward to is going to be Anthony Richardson. And we talked a little bit about Anthony Richardson just yesterday about, the whole Chris Sims and the comments Chris Sims made. And everything that's going on there and how we think that's so wrong. But there's also the quarterback coach for the Colts talking about Anthony Richardson and his development coming into this year, right? The steps that he's taking to be a better version of himself. So Colts quarterback coach Cam Turner was, quote, shocked the first time he saw Anthony Richardson and talking about how there's no hesitation to Anthony Richardson on the field, right? Coming back, especially after an injury, some guys have to be, or some guys like to ease into things, but they had to hold Anthony back, right? This is a guy we've talked about so many times coming into the NFL, wanting to be great, wanting to continue to work to be great. So the fact that they continue to have to hold him back and rein him back a bit and pull him back to make sure he doesn't overdo it is good. You'd rather have that than have to try to push somebody to do more work, right? And then the part of it that I like the most is this quote right here. He says, he's the same athletic Anthony that we know, but in the meeting room, he's taking the next step as far as the knowledge and the maturity of the questions he's asking now. are the next level questions, as opposed to the questions he was asking a year ago were more basic. He's definitely grown in our scheme and then identifying defenses as well. So what he really means there, like what he's talking about, the maturity of it, he like asking basic questions, like who knows what the questions are, but now like going in depth to whatever the Colts scheme is, whatever their language is, however they use different verbiage to talk about different things. Like Anthony Richardson going more in detail about the different parts of the game as they are watching film in the meeting room. So Anthony Richardson being next level in that regard is great. He's obviously next level freak athlete, one of the most freak athletes to ever play quarterback. Maybe the most freak athlete to ever play quarterback. Lamar Jackson is in that category as well, but just a freak athlete overall. And to be able to have the mental capacity that he has to and have that with what he has physically. Like we could have the greatest quarterback ever. He just needs to be able to stay healthy. Like everything that he brings with Shane Steichen as his coach, everything is green. Up and to the right with Anthony Richardson. So hopefully Anthony's able to stay healthy. It sounds like, on the field, off the field, he is doing everything he needs to do to continue to be the best version of himself and be the leader that this team needs going into the future here. So, right when we're starting to build around it, he's got the receivers of the future, presumably got some offensive linemen of the future this year. Latu on the defensive side, right? Got an edge rusher to help out, get the ball back for the offense for the future. So, things are looking really good for the Colts. I like the schedule this year, but it's going to be tough. We're going to continue talking more about that at some point this offseason. I'm going to start diving into, obviously different players in their situations. I want to talk about, film, go over, different film and look at guys from last year, look at guys that we drafted. I want to try to define different things that we can look at and say, okay, why is this the way it is? What can we expect this season, right? So, a lot to talk about this offseason. Gonna want your opinion. So make sure you subscribe with notifications on so you get notified anytime any of these videos do come out. Of course, I appreciate you joining me for another video. As always, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and go Colts.